Save Yourself by Terence Dix. The Doctor sat in a luxurious anteroom deep in the heart of the capital, the governing building of the Time Lords. He was waiting to hear if he would live or die. He had been condemned to death for time interference by the High Council, according to the strict provisions of Time Lord law. Then a visitor from the mysterious Celestial Intervention Agency had told him of a possible way out. The Council, apparently, was still undecided. The Doctor felt tired, as if he'd been waiting here a lifetime. A guard appeared at the door. "Come, Doctor, they are ready for you." The Doctor was marched along a corridor and into a larger room. He stood gazing curiously around him. He was in a small audience hall with a circle of benches surrounding the Lord High Chancellor's chair. Elaborately robed Time Lords occupied the seats. "Well, Doctor," said the Lord High Chancellor, "which is it to be, exile or death?" "Exile would suit you best," said the Doctor. "If I was executed, there would be a terrible scandal. Disappearance into exile would give a better chance of hushing the whole thing up." "It would also have the advantage of preserving your life," said the Lord High Chancellor. "A formidable argument," agreed the Doctor. "What do you want me to do?" "It's a matter of a mission," said the Lord High Chancellor. "Several missions, in fact. It has come to our notice, Doctor, that while your interference has sometimes run contrary to our interests, on other occasions it has assisted them. We have a number of missions in which, under our guidance and control, you can work for us." "Oh, do you?" thought the Doctor, but he said nothing. They made an incongruous pair. The High Chancellor stood tall and stately in his flowing robes. The Doctor's check trousers were more than a little baggy. His well-worn black coat had seen better days, and his shirt was definitely wilting. His gently comical face was crowned by a mop of black hair. "Now to the first," said the Lord High Chancellor. "There is an unprepossessing planet called Karn, in which we take some interest." "In which you take considerable interest," said the Doctor. "Karn is the home of the sacred flame, which creates the elixir of life. Many Time Lords would have died without its restorative effect." "Something we prefer to keep quiet about," said the Lord High Chancellor. "Now we have received word that Karn has been occupied by a hostile force." "How did you receive word?" said the Doctor. The Lord High Chancellor paused. "You know, I am sure, that Karn is the home of the Sisterhood, a semi-supernatural cult. Personally, I believe its proceedings are little more than mystic mumbo-jumbo. However, it appears to have occasional erratic glimpses into the future. Recently, one of our telepaths received a message with the news I have given you, insisting that it was of vital importance to the Time Lord race. Whether this is true or not, we simply do not know." "And you want me to go and find out?" said the Doctor. "We can furnish you with your TARDIS and any help you need." "Why don't you send a force of your own?" asked the Doctor. "Scandal, publicity, galaxy-wide interest," said the Lord High Chancellor. "Go and find the truth for us, Doctor, and we shall know how best to act." "I have some conditions of my own," said the Doctor. "You are in no position to bargain." "I think I am. You want me to do this mission very much. Something tells me you are unable to find anyone else prepared to do it." "Well," said the Lord High Chancellor, "what are your conditions?" "The death sentence is to be annulled. Double jeopardy." This meant that the sentence could never be reimposed. "The number of missions is to be strictly limited, the precise number arrived at by pre-agreement." "Of course, Doctor, strictly limited." The High Chancellor seemed amused as if by some private joke. "What next?" You must have more demands. I'll try to think of someone. I have time. The High Chancellor turned to a guard. Take him to his TARDIS. The Doctor was marched along endless corridors to a small blank room which held the familiar blue box of the TARDIS. The guard ushered him inside. The Doctor felt a rush of welcome as he gazed around the control room. And yet, something felt different. The console looked a little more battered, as if it had been through a good deal since he had left it to go on trial. There have been some modifications, said the guard. The Doctor peered at a bank of instruments. You've added a Stuttenheim remote control unit, I see, giving you dual control. Your TARDIS will take you to Khan and, in due course, bring you back here, but that is all. He saluted and left the control room. The Doctor stood for a moment, his hands resting gently on the central console. Got you in chains, have they, old girl? Never mind, we shall be free again one day. His hands moved over the controls, and the central column began its rise and fall. The journey was not long. The central column slowed down, and the Doctor heard the familiar landing noise of the TARDIS. He switched on the scanner. He was gazing down into a steep valley, at the end of which there stood a castle. There were many such castles on Khan. Like most of them, it was half ruined. The Kharnians, once a high-tech civilization, had destroyed themselves in internal wars many years ago. Well, I suppose I must see what the Sisterhood were trying to warn us about. The Doctor left the TARDIS and stood shivering a little in the bleak winds. He stood on a desolate rocky plain wrapped in Khan's prevailing gloom. Suddenly he remembered his fur coat. He was about to go back inside and fetch it, when a deep voice boomed out. "Halt! Do not move, or you will be shot down." The Doctor looked up and saw a small group of black-clad guards with levelled space rifles. "All right," he sighed. "I shall stand quite still." The guards clattered down the path towards him. Soon he was surrounded. One of the guards stepped forward. He was a large, thuggish-looking man with a square jaw, evidently the guard captain. He glared at the Doctor. "What are you doing here?" "My craft, the blue box you see behind me, crashed down here." He clasped his hands together and looked up guilelessly. "I was going to ask whoever lives in that castle for their help with repairs." The guards conferred for a moment. "Shoot him?" suggested one of them. The guard captain said, "No. He said that anyone arriving here was to be questioned." The Doctor noticed that he was pronounced with awe and reverence. "Who is this he?" he asked the guard captain. "He is our leader. He is going to bring us glory and conquest. No more questions. Come." They set off on a long and grueling march across the rocky terrain. The pace was ruthless. At last, the jagged black shape of the castle loomed over them. They marched to the main gate. The guard captain exchanged a quick word with the sentries, and they were admitted into a high-ceilinged stone passageway. The Doctor looked round curiously. He noticed two things about the castle. Firstly, that someone had worked very hard to destroy it. There were broken columns and great chunks of masonry fallen from walls and ceilings. Since then, someone, presumably someone else, had worked very hard to restore it. Smooth surfaces had been dusted and polished, and rubble neatly stacked in corners. The corridor ended in an elaborately carved stone archway. Beyond the archway lay a throne room. Like the rest of the castle, it was battered, but restored. A throne stood at the head of a flight of steps. Guards were posted about the room. The Doctor turned to the guard captain. "What now?" "We wait until he is ready for us." The Doctor looked round the throne room. The waiting guards, like the guard captain and his men, all looked somehow similar. Tall men with swarthy skins, thin noses, bushy beards, and moustaches. You're Trustevarians, aren't you? Yes, said the guard captain proudly. A race of warriors. A singularly militant and destructive race, said the doctor. I thought you'd been all but wiped out, driven to the remote fringes of the galaxy. So we were. But now he has come to lead us. We shall return. He has promised us fresh planets to conquer. There was a sudden fanfare, and all eyes turned to the door behind the throne. It opened, and a man appeared, not particularly tall, but lean and wiry. He wore a black velvet doublet studded with jewels. "Bring him," he bellowed. Guards seized the doctor and dragged him to the foot of the throne. He looked up at the gorgeously black-robed figure, at the eyes behind the round pebble glasses. "You!" the doctor breathed. It was the warlord. "Welcome, Doctor," he said. "I knew the Time Lords would send an agent to investigate in time. I hoped so very much that it would be you. Now, kneel." "To you?" said the doctor. "Never." The warlord turned to the guards. "Make him kneel." The guards seized the doctor by the shoulders and tried to force him to his knees. They didn't succeed. The doctor squared his shoulders and set his muscles, and his whole body became like a rock. Panting and red-faced, the guards gave up their efforts. "Stronger than he looks, sir," gasped one of them. "Mind over matter," said the doctor. "Or, more accurately, I have a mind, and you don't matter." "Let him stand, then," said the warlord, his fury showing only in his eyes. "How can you do that?" "Venusian meditation grants the enlightened soul the most precise muscular control." The doctor straightened up. "A far more interesting question is how and why you're here. I thought I'd witnessed you being executed. Temporal dissolution, no less." "The most elevated of my race, Doctor, have stolen technology from all the higher powers of the universe. They have kept pace with Time Lord technology and, in some instances, surpassed it. When my atoms were dissolved into space, my superiors recaptured them and reassembled me, as you see, as good as new." "So much for the how," said the doctor. "Now for the why." "Several purposes, Doctor. First, to kill you for ruining my splendid scheme. It was a harebrained half-cocked scheme. It was already collapsing under its own weight." The doctor smiled disarmingly. "I just added a little pressure. I shall revive the scheme on a smaller scale at first. My reserve guard of Trastevarians will attack a number of wealthy planets and recruit further armies. Once we have sufficient forces, we shall destroy that Earth of which you are so fond. Its populations will be cannon fodder in the great conquests to come, and those who do not fight will slave for us, maintaining a galactic supply depot for our wars across the cosmos." "I see," said the doctor angrily. "What you sought to do by stealth, you now intend to do quite blatantly. But the Time Lord stopped you once. You can't be so foolish as to believe they won't stop you again." "Indeed I am not," said the warlord, seating himself upon the great throne. "Which is why I shall destroy the Time Lords. You know what is on this planet, Doctor? The sacred fire that creates the fountain of life upon which the Time Lords depend for their multi-lived immortality." "Depend? Nonsense!" the doctor retorted. "It helps in rare cases, that is all." "My own war chief's life was saved by it," said the warlord. "When I first encountered him in a Trastevarian jail, he was so close to death that he regenerated. He said the elixir was vital to the regeneration process." "Perhaps he said that so that you wouldn't consider him weak," the doctor shot back. "Why should I believe you?" The warlord produced a glistening black sphere from the pocket of his robe. "This is my people's most powerful explosive. It will destroy the fountain, and with that gone, the Time Lords will die out." "You're deranged," cried the doctor. "The elixir might not be vital, but it had still saved countless lives both on Gallifrey and beyond. No wonder the telepathic cry had gone up as the sisterhood sensed the danger they were in. He couldn't let the warlord destroy something so precious. Deranged, you think? You can scarcely stop me, the warlord said, signalling to his guards to seize the doctor. If you will not kneel to me, then my men will remove your legs. You will regenerate, perhaps, but there will be no elixir to help you. He was interrupted by a strange, wheezing, groaning sound. A blue box materialized from nowhere beside the doctor. The warlord had jumped to his feet. "Time Lords!" he shrieked. "So you have sent for your Time Lord armies. Too late!" Leaping away from the throne, the warlord ran to a curtained alcove and ripped away the curtain. In the alcove stood a smooth black column with a domed top. He disappeared inside. The black column vanished with a screeching, grinding sound. The doctor, too, was on his feet. He ran to his TARDIS and opened the door with his key. The door swung open to reveal an empty control room. He turned to face the guard captain. "No Time Lord army," said the doctor. "Just me. I'm rather glad now that the Time Lords gave me a remote control unit. Your warlord is gone. He has abandoned you. Now, I am in charge. You will obey my orders." The guard captain stared at him uneasily. "Do you hear me?" rasped the doctor. "Soon the Time Lords will be here. Obey them, and you will come to no harm." The guard captain came to attention and saluted. "Sir!" He turned to the other guards. "There are new orders. They are to be strictly obeyed." In an authoritarian society, thought the doctor, people obey the voice of authority. He went inside the TARDIS. The door closed behind him, and the box vanished, with the same wheezing, groaning sound with which it had arrived. Inside the TARDIS, the doctor patted the control console. "Well done, old girl. Hurry now. No time. Just a short trip through space." He raised his eyes upward. "I'm sure the Time Lords can steer you where you need to go." Already the central column was slowing in its rise and fall. As the TARDIS landed, the doctor checked the scanner, but all was gloomy. He opened the doors and went outside. He was in a low cavern in the heart of the mountains. The smoky air crackled with heat. In the centre of the cavern, a low wall surrounded a fiery pit. Beside it stood the warlord, the black sphere in his hand. He was haranguing a small group of black-clad and hooded women, the inner council of the sisterhood. "Here is the end of your precious elixir of life. This device will blow the central fire to fragments. The minerals will not melt into water, and even the fountain itself will flow no more." "You think so?" The doctor stepped forward. "Well, we shall soon see, shan't we?" At the sight of the doctor, the warlord retreated. "Stay back," he warned. "Leave," the doctor told the sisters of the inner council. "Go, now, fetch help." "Help, doctor?" The warlord laughed, his eyes wide. He seemed almost unhinged. "Nothing can help you now." "Then let me help you," said the doctor. "To be destroyed atom by atom and then reassembled, that would send anyone quite mad." "If I am mad, you would be well advised to surrender." He raised the black sphere. "You know that I intend to use this." "Set off that device here, and you'll destroy yourself as well as me," the doctor replied calmly, continuing his slow advance. Suddenly, he darted forward and lunged for the black sphere. The warlord tried to dodge, stumbled over a rock. The black sphere slipped from his hand. "Oh, my word!" The doctor dived under the sphere and just barely caught it, clutching it to his chest. With a snarl, the warlord was back on his feet. The doctor put down the sphere and closed with him. They grappled furiously. The warlord, like the doctor, was much stronger than he looked, but neither was used to hand-to-hand combat. The doctor locked his muscles together once more, allowing the warlord to waste valuable energy trying to shift him. But it was a mistake. The warlord turned from him, ran, and grabbed the black sphere from the ground. Then he sprang up onto the low wall encircling the pit. "No, you mustn't!" The doctor bounded across the room and scrambled up onto the wall close behind the warlord. They confronted each other and then grappled again. It was a brief and furious tussle. The doctor's foot slipped, and he fell backwards away from the fire. As he did so, he knocked the warlord's legs from under him. With a scream, the warlord toppled and then plunged into the fiery pit, still clutching, the doctor realized despairingly, the black sphere. Warriors of the Sisterhood, armed with spears, hurried into the smoky cave. "Get down!" the doctor shouted, rolling away from the pit. "Down, I say!" There was a sudden, thunderous roar from behind, and the cave filled with black smoke. The roar gradually faded and the smoke thinned. Cautiously, the doctor turned to look behind him. Black smoke was still jetting from the pit. He held out his hand, and it was soon covered with fine black dust. He brushed it away. "Well, I don't think the most elevated of his race will reconstitute that into another warlord," he said with satisfaction. One of the Sisterhood called upwards in a high carrying voice, "How fares the fountain?" The doctor waited tensely. The smoke in the air was somehow parted by a telekinetic force. The supernatural wind whistled down into the pit. The sound of a magnified drip, drip, drip filled the cavern like a watery heartbeat. And then the noise faded, and the wind died away. A voice called back, "The fountain flows." All was well, thought the doctor. The fire of life had absorbed both the warlord and his device. He addressed the shaken sisters. "Stay here and wait. Time Lords will come and help you. Guard the flame." Then he hurried back to the TARDIS. In the council chamber, the High Chancellor sat worriedly upon his chair. What was it that Earth poet had said? "Uneasy lies the head that wears the crown." He knew the Doctor was an unreliable agent, and yet that very unpredictability was often the source of his success. For how long could he hope to harness it? The wheezing, groaning sound of the Doctor's TARDIS interrupted him. The Doctor emerged and threw himself onto a bench. He and the High Chancellor studied each other for a moment. "Déjà vu," said the Doctor suddenly. "I have the most curious feeling I've been here before." "I briefed you here, Doctor," said the High Chancellor. "That's not what I mean." The Doctor was looking about mistrustfully. "I presume you were successful?" The Doctor gave a brief account of his adventure. "The sacred flame and the fountain of life are safe, and the warlord is gone for good." "Let us hope so." The High Chancellor sighed and sat back in his chair. "The warlord's superiors are still at large. The thought that their technology may outmatch ours troubles me deeply." "Well, that's your concern. Mine is for the happy ending I've just earned for myself." The Doctor smiled broadly. "Where you shower me with thanks and rewards and give me my TARDIS and my freedom." He paused, then said quietly, "But you're not going to do that, are you?" The High Chancellor smiled. "Not quite yet, Doctor. Now, as to your next mission..." The Doctor jumped up. "We agreed there would only be a limited number." "Indeed we did, Doctor. We've agreed that many times." The High Chancellor's smile was almost regretful. "And each time you sit in the waiting area, your memory is wiped of all the missions you have carried out for us already." The Doctor's face had grown grave. "All the missions?" "Each for you is the first," said the High Chancellor, "so that each time you act for us with the full force, hope, and vigour of a man fighting for his life and freedom, believing that success will bring the repeal of his sentence." "You mean you're using me over and I don't even know?" The Doctor was red-faced with anger, hopping from foot to foot. "Saving your bacons, time after time?" "We are lords of time, Doctor." the High Chancellor said. He pulled a device from his cloak and pressed a button. The Doctor sat in a luxurious anteroom deep in the heart of the capital, the governing building of the Time Lords. He was waiting to hear if he would live or die. He had been condemned to death for time interference by the High Council, according to the strict provisions of Time Lord law. Then, a visitor from the mysterious Celestial Intervention Agency had told him of a possible way out. The Council, apparently, was still undecided. The Doctor felt tired, as if he'd been waiting here a lifetime. A guard appeared at the door. "Come, Doctor," he said. "They are ready for you."